In a Harvard Business Review study, 97% of a group of 10,000 senior executives said strategic thinking is the most critical leadership skill for an organization's success. Strategic thinking is a process that defines the manner in which people think about, assess, view, and create the future for themselves and others. Strategic thinking is an extremely effective and valuable tool which involves developing an entire set of critical skills. Well, what are those critical skills? We're going to ask my guest, Tom Taormina, a friend and colleague that has amassed an extraordinary wealth of knowledge and experiences over his 50-year career. Beginning with the foundation of 14 years at Mission Control, Houston during Gemini and Apollo, he was one of the pioneers of the discipline of quality control engineering. He ran several manufacturing companies before becoming a consultant, facilitator, and trainer. He has worked with more than 700 companies, written 12 books, and continues to champion business organizational excellence. So, Tom, I want to run through this list of critical skills that the best strategic thinkers possess and use every day, and would like you to further expand on your ideas. So, critical skill number 1, strategic thinkers have the ability to use the left, the logical, and right, creative sides of their brain, which takes practice.
They have to do it cognitively. All of us are left-brained or right-brained by nature. How do you discipline yourself to know when to switch from one to the other? So as you said in the introduction, strategic thinking is something that is learned, and it's something that is structured.
Right. So I have to share this. When I was learning how to write, I'm right-handed. At the same time, I taught myself how to write left-handed. So the whole time I was learning in school, I would do everything both right and left-handed, which I do believe is why I can think both left and right side of the brain. Very unusual, and yet why did I do it? I have no idea. It just seemed like fun.
Maybe it was fun, but maybe you were a strategic thinker and didn't know it.
Apparently at, age 5 and 6, right? Critical skill number 2, strategic thinkers have the ability to develop a clearly defined and focused business vision and personal vision.
Absolutely. And again, an acquired skill for most people because we don't think in terms of process. We react to situations based on the training and experiences that we have. And when we're asked a question or faced with a situation, we open our mouth and we blurt out an answer because that's what we're programmed to do. Strategic thinkers stop, take a deep breath, and look at the left and right side of their brain and their myriad of experience. And if they're really strategic thinkers, they say, what would you do?
Right. Critical skill number 3, strategic thinkers have the ability to clearly define their objectives and develop a strategic action plan with each objective broken down into tasks and each task having a list of needed resources and a specific timeline.
Now, how many people do we know that actually do that?
Rarely.
Rarely.
They have goals, they write stuff down, they stick them up on a board, right, but they never follow it all the way through into an actual, how are we going to do that? How are we going to execute?
Well, how are we going to execute? And then when we start getting close to executing and realization, we lose interest and go on to something else. The infrastructure that has to be set up by a strategic thinker is how is the system going to run itself?
Excellent. Critical skill number 4, strategic thinkers have the ability to design flexibility into their plans by creating some benchmarks in their thinking to review progress and then use those benchmarks as a guide and to recognize the opportunity to revise their plans as needed.
It's strange you should mention that. I was involved with the International Benchmarking Clearinghouse in Houston when it was developed. Those things never occurred to me that you should bounce your ideas off best in class and then put the processes into place to make sure that you're following that. So benchmarking has kind of gone out of style. I'm glad I hear that word being used again to where someone else has done this before. let's see what they did right. Let's see what they did wrong. That's a strategic thinker.
We see this a lot in project management, who are typically solid strategic thinkers because they have to think about all those what ifs. Also, somewhere in that process, they stop and they go, is the direction we're on still working based on the circumstances or the resources or the people involved? Is it truly now still going to carry us forward?
Absolutely. And part of strategic thinking is I will not let something like that move forward unless we have metrics in place before we start for every event. Those metrics tell us when to turn a little bit more to the left, to the right, or to stop if we need to stop.
Yes, this is Cheri Hill. You're listening to The Cheri Hill Show with guest Tom Taormina, and we're talking about the critical skills required to be an effective strategic thinker. So critical skill number 5, strategic thinkers are amazingly aware and perceptive, recognizing internal and external clues, often subtle, to help guide future direction and realize opportunities for them and their companies or organizations.
You and I can use our personal experiences in the fact that a strategic thinker has had many different experiences from which to draw. And I think that's a big part of it, is the fact that we're situationally aware and can dip into that sack of solutions just like that and come up with a proposed solution.
Right, and they're good listeners, typically.
We have one mouth and two ears, and they should be used approximately in that proportion.
Absolutely. Critical skill number 6, strategic thinkers are committed, lifelong learners, and learn from each of their experiences.
It can't be more true. This morning I was working with a dental practice, and I learned so many new things just in a few hours this morning. Everything they're doing comes down to strategic planning and strategic thinking. And these are people who like to be working in people's mouths, not strategically thinking.
Right. Number 7 is they take time out for themselves. Of course, relaxing and unwinding and all those things are important. If you're not taking time out for yourself, a retreat, something, then you're not going to be as an effective as a strategic thinker. So number 8 is committed to and seek advice from others.
Absolutely. If you think you know everything, you're in big trouble.
Right.
Surround yourself with people who are like-minded in the fact that they are open-minded, but are different in their views of life. Nothing you know is absolute. Absolutely nothing is absolute. That's kind of a circular logic thing, isn't it? Actively listen to people.
I pulled this little plaque out of my grandmother's house, and it says, "It's what you learn after you know everything that counts." And it's hanging right by my desk. I love that. She was a strategic thinker. Trust me on that one. Number 9, strategic thinkers have the ability to balance their tremendous amount of creativity with a sense of realism and honesty about what is achievable in the longer term.
I happened to be at a mixer last night, and I ran across 2 different people that had these amazing ideas and plans that they wanted to do. And it was like listening to a comedian, because they had not given a moment's thought to, is there a market for this? Can I afford to launch it? What's going to happen if? They just foam at the mouth, and sometimes it's embarrassing to watch.
All right, we gotta scream through these last 2. Critical skill number 10, strategic thinkers have the ability to be non-judgmental, and they do not allow themselves to be held back or restricted by judging their own thinking or the thinking of others when ideas are initially being developed and shared.
In the essence of time, all I can say is amen. If you're a judgmental person, get somebody else to do your strategic thinking.
And critical skill number 11, strategic thinkers have the ability to be patient and to not rush to conclusions and judgments.
Once again, it's just an absolute truism.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. And that was fun because strategic thinking is important. And it's a skill that has to be developed. So as we went through all of those 11, if you, our listeners, are going, wow, maybe I should work on that. That was really the goal of this segment. So thank you, Tom, for being here.
My pleasure, Cheri.
Always good to catch up, and catch up next week.